Alright, this video is kind of a big mix of things, and I'm shooting in 8K and 6K, so I want to get through this very quick because these file sizes are going to be ginormous. But today we're going to be talking about converting the V-Raptor to the Nikon Z-Mount, matching the Nikon ZR with the V-Raptor and a comparison between that footage, shooting in anamorphics on the Nikon ZR, using Sony E-Mount lenses on the V-Raptor with the Megadap adapter, and my final verdict on the Nikon ZR as a Sony shooter after months of owning it. A camera here is the RED V-Raptor in 8K, shooting in the lowest R3D quality, which is ELQ, and that's around 100 megabytes a second. And B cam here is the Nikon ZR, shooting in 6K Red RAW, which is about 15-20 megabytes a second. Whew. So like I said, I'm going to really try to speed through this because that bitrate is insane. Nikon really needs to offer some lower RAW qualities in Red RAW for this camera. I originally wasn't going to do any in-depth color grading on any of this, to more just quickly and easily match these two cameras, but I can never just do that because I like it. So this is colored with film convert nitrate. So first off, I finally converted my V-Raptor to the Nikon Z-Mount. Why? Well, like my original intention with the Nikon ZR, I can now adapt Sony E-Mount lenses to this camera with an adapter should I ever want to. Also, if all goes right in the world and I keep the Nikon ZR, I'll likely be investing in native Nikon lenses. So it would be great to have these two cameras matching as perfectly as I possibly can. And also, I just never had any use for the RF mount. I'm never going to invest in RF mount lenses. Other than that, some of the internal improvements in upgrading the V-Raptor to the Nikon Z-Mount are enhanced autofocus and speed controls, touchscreen focus and lens controls like aperture and autofocus settings, and fully customizable lens buttons, which I don't really ever use, but hey, that's cool. As you can see, at first glance, both of these cameras match pretty well with each other, image-wise. I'm not going to do any in-depth pixel peeping nonsense. It's not what I do. I don't really care. I just want to see how well these cameras match up with each other to the naked eye when using the ZR as a B cam to the V-Raptor. So for me, it looks like it's working out pretty well so far. As you probably already know, R3D is 12-bit on the ZR and 16-bit on the V-Raptor, and the V-Raptor has considerably higher dynamic range. But for when I would be using this setup the most, for interviews like I am right now, I'm not going to be shooting in anywhere near the highest quality that the V-Raptor has to offer. I'll probably use ELQ like right now, or LQ at the most. As you can probably tell already, I'm shooting in anamorphics on both cameras, namely the Blazar Remus 50mm on the V-Raptor and the Blazar Remus 85 on the ZR. And since the ZR famously does not have OpenGate, I'm using a small HD Ultra 5 so I can see what the hell I'm doing, which is something I hope I don't have to do much more of in the future after the firmware update we're all praying for. And using E-Mount lenses on the V-Raptor works surprisingly well. The Megadap Pro Adapter does work. It can be a little tricky mounting it to the mount with the locking ring or whatever you call it. You just gotta finagle it a little bit, but it does work. The autofocus works surprisingly well on the V-Raptor, even with E-Mount lenses and an adapter. Maybe not as good as the ZR, but better than I thought. Selecting different autofocus modes and options on the RED Touch monitor is very smooth and responsive, as well as the aperture control. And surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, depending on your level of cynicism, there are absolutely no issues using the Megadap on the V-Raptor. No sensor shift issue, which would be impossible because the V-Raptor doesn't have IBIS, so the sensor can't move. What the fuck? And most importantly, no horizontal banding noise. At all. Nothing. That being said, it might be safe to say that all of the issues I've been having with the Megadap on the Nikon ZR, like many others have, cannot be the sole blame of Megadap alone. There are definitely severe issues using the Megadap on the Nikon ZR specifically. The proof is in this pudding. Which leads to my final verdict in using the Nikon ZR as a lifelong Sony shooter. Sony lenses or not, I need to talk about the IBIS on the Nikon ZR. I'm sure this will wet many Nikon fanboy diapers, but the IBIS on the Nikon ZR is just not good. That I actually sent my ZR into Nikon because I thought there was something specifically wrong with my camera. But after Nikon testing it, there wasn't. Speaking for handheld operation alone, shooting in sport mode on this camera, as Nikon recommends, still yields very jumpy, jittery results, no matter if I'm shooting with Sony E-Mount lenses on a Megadap or native lenses. I don't know if any of you are in Maryland right now, but it's a winter hellscape out here, so if I fall and bust my ass, it's on camera. Now, I am shooting on a Sigma R24-70 Mark II E-Mount lens with the Megadap adapter. And I know, a lot of people are going to be saying that, well, you're using E-Mount, it's not going to be as good. Well, trust me, it's the same while using a native lens. I know, trust me, bro, right? But I've tested it, and it's the same exact results. Your neighbors are going to start looking at me funny, but fuck them. I mean, take these stupid tests for what they are. This is not a professional, test in any way, shape, or form. I'm just doing some basic walking and talking here as, anyone would. And I'm trying to be as steady as possible, as you can see. And the jitters are still going to be present. There's really nothing you can do about that besides adding more weight to your rig or just using a gimbal. Like I said, shooting wide, 24 millimeters here. And I'm in sport mode, again, trying to be real steady. I'm not, going like that or anything. This is just with the lens on, shotgun mic. There's no weight to this camera, so I get it. I mean, compared to just other mirrorless cameras in its class that have IBIS, this leaves a little bit more to be desired. So hopefully this is addressed in future firmware updates. Maybe, maybe not. Until then, gimbal work only, stationary, like I said. Of course, regardless if any camera has IBIS or lens stabilization or not, if you want the smoothest results, use a gimbal. Moving on. As I said, after testing the Megadap on the V-Raptor, it's clear to me that the sensor shift issue and the horizontal banding noise may not entirely be the fault of Megadap and could be issues specifically to the Nikon ZR. Meaning that Nikon may be partially to blame in this. I know there will be more diaper wetting, but if the Megadap works just fine on other cameras and has issues on the ZR, it might be something that Nikon should at least assist in figuring out. I mean, I've also heard that the sensor shift issue is happening to people when using native lenses. While this is not something I can confirm nor deny, it is interesting to hear. So with these issues still being persistent when using E-Mount lenses on the Nikon ZR, I still can't recommend using Sony E-Mount lenses on this camera for professional use, especially for longer run record times when you're shooting something like interviews. Even if these E-Mount lens issues were not present, my uses for this camera will still stand. As of now, professionally, I will only use the Nikon ZR as a stationary B cam to either my V-Raptor or Sony FX6 with either cine lenses or native lenses, or in short bursts with E-Mount lenses, like, shooting B-roll on a gimbal or something like that. I know it sounds like I hate this camera, so why do I have it? I really do like the ZR. I do. I mean, I wouldn't still have it if I didn't like it. I mean, for the price at $2,100 or whatever, we can't really complain, right? I mean, it almost sounds too good to be true. If this were my main camera, it is too good to be true. But for my purposes, as it currently stands, for the types of jobs I would be using this camera on, it does the job. While I do intend to keep this camera, I sincerely hope that there are many firmware updates on the way to address the issues and shortcomings this camera has. Until then, thanks for watching. I don't know if there's any value whatsoever to this video, but it felt like a good idea. Like, dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe, send love, send hate, whatever. Thanks for watching. Drink 'em if you got 'em.